Hey, this is Jerry Fetta, CEO of Philanthro Wealth. I'm back. I've been doing some repeat videos for a while. I just moved, and I want to give you my most recent update. Stay tuned. You're going to want to see all this. Hey, welcome back to another weekly wealth walk. I'm giving you a quick update. So I've been kind of, MIA a little bit on my videos for about a month now, and I want to just bring you up to speed on what I've been doing, what I've been up to. So I moved recently to New Mexico, right? Beautiful state. And so I visited New Mexico for the first time. I believe it was this past spring, and I fell in love with it completely. The mountains, the scenery. It's a state that's got, very low cost of living, a lot of really cool things to see. And so we've been really enjoying it here. We've been here for about a month, right? And so I had to reset up my studio and all these things that happen when you move. Okay. And so part of this for me is, finding the base. I've talked about this in my previous videos, finding the base where I want to really build off and expand because I like living somewhere that's inspiring, right? I want to live somewhere where I wake up and I'm excited that I'm there, right? I look around and I'm in awe because of the beauty and it's got a high aesthetic level and all these types of things. So we have our house we moved into. We are renting. So I still believe for me, renting is the best thing right now. So we're renting. And one of the things that's incredible about New Mexico is the cost of living is extremely low compared to like alternatives around the country. So when I was looking at, what are the ideal places to live? I've lived in Florida, in Alaska. I've lived in LA temporarily. I've lived in, Kansas City. I've lived in Montana. I've lived in Minnesota. I've lived in so many different places, right? And so one of the things that I look at is I look at the taxes and I look at the cost of living. And so there's certain states that are, zero tax, but the cost of living is super high, right? Or maybe they're not states that I enjoy. Like I don't like being there. I'm not excited and inspired. So I look at those factors. So I look at cost of living, taxes. I look at, do I like being there? And that trifecta for me has been really important on, okay, well, where's the ideal place for me to live? Because if I'm waking up enthusiastic, excited, inspired, I'm going to be more productive with what I do. I'm going to be more creative. I'm going to be more inspired, right? So here's some of the things that I've been working on, aside from just moving in and, setting up in the new house and all this kind of stuff. Here's a few things that I've been focusing on with Philanthro Wealth, with our mission, with our purpose, with what we're doing, right? So again, our vision is that we have good people who have control of the majority of wealth, and they're using that wealth to restore life essentials and promote human welfare, okay? And my mission with Wealth Dynamics, back when that was the company, that was very similar.
Next, I don't want to interrupt you too long. I just want to give you a free offer for my book, The Blueprint to Financial Freedom. If you go to jerryfetta.com/B2F promo, you can get the book now. I'm going to let you get back to the video.
Right? It was good people building more wealth to make the world a better place. And we made that vision a little more specific, right? As we moved this in with me and my co-founders' visions together, Ivan, right? We want to have good people who are controlling the majority of wealth and using that to restore life essentials and promote human welfare. And I've talked about what the life essentials are. Okay. Now, we're in a season right now where we just had an election, right? And I don't care what side you're on. This is not a political thing, but we can all agree when we look around our country and we look around our world, things are not going as well as they could be. Like we're nowhere near the ideal of what, the most prosperous and thriving nation in the history of the world should look like. And so with Philanthro Wealth, we're out to change that. We're not a political group. We're not a religious movement. We're not, any of these normal things you would rely on to be like, oh, those guys are going to improve it for me. Because I think that that's part of the problem, right? I think part of the problem is we leave it to someone else. Oh, the politicians are going to do it. Oh, the churches are going to do it. Oh, the government in my local community is going to do it. And we sit back and then we complain about, well, the water is not clean. The pollution is happening with the air. The environment is being destroyed. Housing is not affordable, right? Cities are ugly. Like I mentioned, when I decided where to move, aesthetics played a big part in it, right? I want to move somewhere where I'm not like, like there's a lot of places in the United States that I look at and I go, and it's not to be mean or offensive to those places. It's just like the aesthetic and the art's not happening. Art's a life essential. Okay, education. We have a failing education system. We should have the best education system. It makes zero sense why we should be losing an education in this country. right? Particularly financial education. A good friend of mine was on the news recently. He talked about how, all of these things we learn in school, we don't really use them. And the one thing we're guaranteed to use, which is money, finances, economics, we don't learn about it, right? And that's backwards. Okay, so here's the vision that we're focusing on with Philanthro Wealth. We're focusing on obviously finding life essentials companies, right? Public companies, nonprofit companies, private companies, right? And let's actually scratch public off the list because we're not really focused on the publicly traded market, right? Like, sure, there's companies out there doing good things. They already have capital, they already have support, they've already got, their main thing happening. So we're looking for private companies that are focused on either restoring life essentials or promoting human welfare. Or we're looking for nonprofits that are focused on those things. Okay, and so what Philanthro Wealth is going to be doing is going to be really one of two things. Number one, we're going to be flowing awareness, we're going to be flowing funding, and we're going to be flowing administrative training to these groups. Right, so if we have a company, let's say that, they are focused on improving housing. We have a company that does that now. Right. And so what we deliver to that group, that company on the one side of Philanthro Wealth is we're going to say, okay, great. We're going to make sure more people know about you. We're going to leverage my social media presence. We're going to help you publish your book. We're going to create training courses and education so people can get to understand what you do better. We're going to get you in front of more people. Right. And in an organic way, because, a lot of these are going to be, kind of a grassroots movement vibe. And we don't want it to be this corporate, McDonald's advertising kind of feel where it's like we just plaster them everywhere and run ads that people are going to forget 5 seconds after they see them. Part of being a philanthro investor, which is the other side of what we're doing, means that you're not only invested with your capital, but you're invested emotionally. And being invested emotionally means that your connection goes deeper than just, oh, I saw a Facebook ad, or I saw a billboard, or I saw a commercial, right? And so part of what we're doing with our philanthropreneurs, as we're calling them, those that are the ideas and the founders and the minds behind these private companies and nonprofit organizations that really can restore life essentials and promote human welfare, is to give them the exposure that they need, right? To make more people aware that, hey, this is a thing. This is what they're doing. You can help, you can support, right? Because it gives a benefit not only to the company, but it gives each individual an outlet to do something about the conditions we see, right? Like right now, all you can do is what? You can say, I don't like that, so I'm going to write a name on a piece of paper, stick it in a box, and hope that enough people agreed with me. And that may or may not do something. It may or may not improve the condition, right? If I want to see cleaner water, like, cool, I can do that. But there's like a very detached cause point that I have with that. Right. Or I'm like, oh, I can, donate money to an organization and hope that they do the right thing. Right. And sometimes they do, sometimes they don't. But if you have a network of like, hey, this is the movement and this is the purpose. And there's companies, there's groups, there's nonprofits, there's all sorts of things here that I can start to support and actually be involved in financially, with my time, with my energy, with my network and my connections, to really be at cause and make a difference with these life essentials and with human welfare on this planet. Right. And if I can get, a financial return for doing that, or if I can get a tax deduction for doing that, or even if I just know that it's happening, sometimes I don't even need to get something back. I just am like, that's something I want to help with. Right. So we're helping the companies and the philanthro investors, the philantropreneurs, the companies and the philanthro investors as well. Okay. So then from there, we're taking companies, the philantropreneurs, into funding, making sure that they're getting, the funding sources they need, whether that's from the private market, whether that's from, crowdfunding, whatever it might be. So we're putting all of that in place. And then the other part is this, like what I have seen in the funding world with private companies is that when you give lots of money to someone that doesn't know how to run a business, they make mistakes. Mistakes lead to trying to cover up the mistakes, which is fraud, right? And so part of our responsibility and the way that we're going to be handling this is if we find a philantropreneur and they're doing, let's say they're helping restore, clean energy, just for example. Okay, we're going to give them awareness. We're going to build their brand with them. We're going to give them exposure, all this stuff. We're going to give them funding. We've just given them power and influence, and we've just given them money, right? And so it's up to us to make sure that that's a good person. That's a social person that wants to help others, and they're not just going to take it and run. But the other part of it is it's up to us to make sure that they know how to run a business. Because what's true of founders is they often are terrible managers, right? Like the worst. And it's kind of like the helicopter mom. Like it literally is the helicopter mom. Okay, they're too involved in the company. They're, oh, what about this one? They need to just like get the hell out, hire management, and let the management run the company the way that they want it run, and doing that by orders and observations rather than going in there and being a helicopter parent. Okay, so the administrative part is huge, and that's something that I'm very strong at. Our team is very strong at. So that's on the philanthropreneur side of things. Okay, now with our clients and our members, we're working on a couple of cool things for you guys. Okay, so one of the things that I have in mind right now is we're developing, a lot of technology to not only continue to bring financial education and training and coaching, but to create this digital experience of the philanthro world, right? And this is going to be an app that you log into, and it's going to be broken down into three main categories. Okay, first one is a philanthro donor. Okay, Gospel of Wealth, Andrew Carnegie, right? The man who dies rich or wealthy, thus dies disgraced. So we're telling you start with the end. So if we're going to help you, we're probably going to be like, hey, instead of paying for a membership, or in addition to paying for a membership, we need to see that you're willing to donate money to Life Essentials. Okay, because we can help you become accredited and financially independent and all this kind of stuff. But I'm not out here just to make more people retired. I'm not out here just to give more individuals more money for the sake of money. My mission is to restore the life essentials and promote human welfare, and doing that through wealth building. And so I want to make sure anyone that's being helped by us as a philanthro investor or philanthro banker or whatever it might be, and I'll get into what those terms mean in a second, that they're willing to help first. Right? So we're going to be setting up a donor advised fund, which means that you can donate money into a fund. You can get a tax deduction for that. You can then invest the donated money into the Life Essentials companies, the philanthropreneurs. And as those companies produce profits, we can then grant those profits into charities that are also restoring life essentials and promoting human welfare. Right? So it's twice the impact. Rather than just let me donate money to a charity, it's let me donate money to the donor advised fund, which then invests in life essentials assets, and the returns generated by those assets then fund and grant money to nonprofits that are promoting, the life essentials and human welfare. Super high impact there. Okay. Now from there, after you become a philanthro donor, then you become a philanthro banker, right? That's the sacred account. You're using your banking system to, again, restore life essentials, promote human welfare. Okay, that's a philanthro banker. From philanthro banker, you move into a philanthro investor, right? We're not in the game of money for money. We're in the game of purpose and helping. And if you really are aligned with the purpose and helping, I think the money is going to be there. And that also, it keeps you away from a lot of the unsavory people in the financial world. You're not going to meet someone who's like, let me defraud people and steal. Like, and their intention is to restore life essentials. Like those two things don't go together, right? Like bad intentioned people have bad intentions. They're not like, I'm trying to do good, but I accidentally screwed a bunch of people over or ripped someone off, right? That's not a thing, right? So that's the focus of philanthro investing. So you go from a philanthro donor to a philanthro banker to a philanthro investor, then back to a philanthro donor, because then you can expand on the donating. You've been investing and it continues, and it's this circle. It goes through again. Donor, banker, investor, and you continue these evolutions until your net worth is climbing and your passive income is climbing, right? So that's really the focus there. And so what I'm doing right now is we're developing some inroads with financial educators and financial coaches.
Hey, you want to see a magic trick? Get a copy of my book, Blueprint to Financial Freedom. I know it's in front of my chest and my face because I want you focusing on the book and not me for a moment before you go back to focusing on me and the content.
Okay, and also financial services professionals. So if you're one of those three and you love what you're hearing, I would love to have a conversation with you, because my background is in the coaching and the training. I had a talk with a guy yesterday that wants to become, a financial coach, an educator, become a licensed agent for doing sacred accounts and infinite banking and stuff. We're now calling that philanthro banking. You still can use the term sacred account, right? You have a sacred account, but you are a philanthro banker. But anyways, I talked with this guy, and he was trying to build the whole system. And I was like, dude, I already built it. I already took it to, Inc. 5000, top 100 fastest growing. I did all of that. So why don't you plug into what I have? And then we can just hit the ground running. You don't need to go through and rebuild something that's already there. Okay, so that's the first thing. The second thing is that we're looking for inroads with those that run private funds, and you need to do your SEC filings and be compliant. I will not work with you if you're like, oh, I'm a bro and I started a fund and I didn't register. No, 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 no. You need to be like the cleanest, most compliant and ethical from an administrative and like legal rudiments standpoint. Rudiments, like the basic things you need to have in. That needs to be the cleanest thing on earth, or I'm not touching your fund, right? But for those that are running private funds, I've had 2 conversations with those that are, they're going to brand them as Philanthro investment private equity funds, right? And they're going to invest their private funds into the life essentials. As they're bringing in private clients and investors, that's funding the life essentials. Okay. The final thing we're working on is we're working on the corporate world. Okay. Going to companies and saying, hey, we want you to become a donor towards the life essentials. And it's going to help with their branding. It's going to help with their company culture. In exchange for that, we're going to give them, as a thank you, access to all of our training and coaching for their employees. Right? So all of this is culminating together into this literally dream business, dream company, dream group, dream team. We've expanded a couple more people on the team now as well. All of this is culminating in something I'm very excited about, right? More excited than I've ever been. Not only that, green, Philanthro is my favorite color. So that's just the icing on the cake, right? But guys, in 20 or 30 years, because I'm 32, when I'm in my 60s, when I'm in my 70s, I want to look back and say the water on this planet was restored because of us, me and you and everyone else that's in this philanthro world that we're building. Housing became affordable again and accessible again because of us, right? The environment, the plastic, the garbage, the litter, that all got handled and picked up because of us, right? We did that. We did that. And I want this to be a generational thing. Something I was thinking about, earlier this year was, as a CEO and as a business owner, for the longest time, I was thinking about like next year, right? Then it expanded out into like 5 years, right? And so I had the realization that I need to be thinking with a company that outlives me. I need to be thinking with an impact that outlives me, because if you look at the great companies on this planet, Apple outlived Steve Jobs, right? AT&T used to be Bell, outlived Alexander Graham Bell and JP Morgan, right? JP Morgan Chase Bank outlived JP Morgan, but not many companies do that. You see, in the ones that do, they often get polluted, they get changed, they're no longer pure to the purpose and the original mission. And so part of what I need to do is I need to get your support at such a high and massive level that this carries on and stays pure. Right? This is something that in 100 years, when I'm not here anymore, there's not some new person running it and it's like no longer what we intended it to be, which means that we need to get involved personally. We need our families involved. We need our kids involved, right? So you're going to see a lot of that from me on the content side of what does it look like to be involved in the philanthropy world. Okay, so guys, that's all I got for you on this video. Thank you so much for watching. It's good to be back with my content here. I will see you next time.
Hey, this is Jerry Fetta here. I want to thank you for watching my video, watching my content. I hope you enjoyed it. If you would like to learn more about the blueprint to financial freedom and how you can achieve passive income that exceeds your savings, your expenses, your taxes, your generosity, and build wealth like the top 1%, I want to encourage you, grab a copy of my book, The Blueprint to Financial Freedom. You can go to jerryfetta.com/B2F promo, or you can click the link in the description of the video here. The copy is free. You cover your shipping. We'll send the book out to you, and we'll send you an email with a bunch of great bonus material also for free. Get the book, subscribe to the channel. I'll see you on my next content.